Hi, Doug Jones here with another Energy Matters vlog. This vlog is titled Racism and the Necessity of Chaos. Wow. Pretty much everyone has felt or noticed that there's a great deal of turbulence in the larger field right now. It is going all sorts of ways. It's not all negative. There are really peaceful movements and protest movements. Black Lives Matter is getting more heard. There are really interesting conversations happening that haven't happened. So there's some good, there's some really bad, with horrible language, police brutality, looting, lots of churning in the field. And one of the things that has come up in my practice this last week was a model for healing by a Grand Master cranial osteopath named Roland Becker. And I've talked with people about that, and I've helped them see a model for individual healing and take it from the micro up to the macro, which is it can be used as a model for macro healing or community healing or cultural healing. And I have used this, and a lot of people have said, wow, that was really a different perspective and very helpful, and they've encouraged me to share that in a wider way. So this is what I'm doing. First, I'd like to just start by saying, as I sit on my perch of white privilege, I grew up white. I didn't grow up black or brown or Native American or Asian, so I am not an authority on this. What this is for me is an attempt, it's an offering. It's an attempt by me to offer these ideas out to the general conversation in the hope that they would be helpful and help move incrementally forward. And if you agree with them, great, and find them helpful, terrific. If you disagree with them, that's great too. My father had a lovely phrase, I delight to disagree with you, and I certainly welcome disagreement. Since I'm not claiming to have the answer, I'm not threatened by disagreement. Okay, here goes. Dr. Roland Becker was such a grand master of healing. He treated, he said 40,000 people in his career, which is just an inconceivable number to me. And he, after all of his years and his later years, he distilled how healing happens down to a 3-step process. That right there tells you that he's a grand master. If he can make something as complex as healing come down to 3 steps, that's real mastery. And interestingly enough, the first step is the dysfunctional pattern needs to break apart and break down into chaos. That was step 1. And this is really interesting. I want to back up here a little bit to just provide a context. Human beings have to pattern. We can't talk, write, walk, drive, eat without patterning. We're made to make patterns. And some of the patterns are healthy and some of the patterns are unhealthy or dysfunctional. And what Dr. Becker was talking about was, how do you get a dysfunctional pattern to become healthier, to become more functional? And step 1 is it has to break apart into chaos. It can't simultaneously stay in a pattern and change. Those are mutually exclusive. And so it was such an unbelievable help to me to hear that the first step in healing is the pattern has to break apart into chaos. And I think on a macro level, we have societal patterns, and some of them are very healthy and some of them are not healthy. Some of them are dysfunctional. And for a community pattern or a cultural pattern to change, to truly change and move towards health, it has to break out of its pattern. It has to start crumbling and go into chaos. And I think we're seeing that in this country. You see, it's a really important moment, and it was really helpful with Dr. Becker's work to help me understand that chaos isn't inherently bad or wrong. It's part of a healing process. The next bit's the hardest for me to articulate and translate, but here goes. I'm going to do my best with it. Step 2. Step 2 is what Dr. Becker called, and then the practitioner helps the system access a functional still point or a working still point. How the hell do I define that term? Okay, basically, the still point helps the system quiet enough that it can orient to something in its system. And what Dr. Becker was helping me as a practitioner understand is I can help the patient's system orient to what he called inherent intelligence. This my term is, I borrow from the Buddhist tradition with brilliant sanity. There's a wisdom and a knowing and an intelligence in the human being. And if I can have the chaos calm enough and then orient to this intelligence, this sanity, this wisdom, and the chaos and the wisdom begin to engage each other in a work, in a functioning work. And that's an extraordinary part of the healing journey. However, it's really important to note here that there's another alternative. If the practitioner isn't skilled or doesn't know how, the system can orient to its wounds or its trauma instead of to its healing forces, instead of to its intelligence and wisdom. And this is really central because as the chaos organizes to dysfunction, trauma, pain, what have you, when it comes back into a new pattern, the pattern is going to be more dysfunctional. But if the chaos can interact with intelligence and wisdom, sanity, when it comes into its new pattern, it's healthier. So to take this to a macro level, I really struggled to find words for this and to actually figure out my own experience with it. What is inherent intelligence on a community level, on a cultural level? What is wisdom there? And for me, it's what each individual can offer to the chaos. So I have to look at myself and say, I don't have the direct experience of racism. Can I offer tolerance? Can I offer a willingness to listen? Can I offer an attempt to understand what somebody else's experience that is totally different than my experience might be like? Can I put in the effort? Can I put in the time? Can I offer kindness, support, compassion? And for me, that is offering on the side of wisdom, on the side of sanity, on the side of intelligence. That's a choice. And that's the secret for me, is to choose that. Because the alternative is for me to get reactive. I am not a racist. They shouldn't loot. I mean, there's all these reactive things that come right up, and they're habits, they're patterns. And some of them are from my culture, some of them are from my wounds, from my own personal trauma, what have you. But it's interesting, if I offer my reactivity, my habituated responses to the chaos, then when the chaos organizes, it's going to go more deeply into dysfunction. But if I can offer the best I've got to the chaos as an individual, as a human being, then as the chaos begins to repattern, it will repattern in a slightly or much healthier way. Then step 3 is just elegant beyond words for me. And Dr. Becker said, step 3, and then something happens, and the system is healthier. And he said, after holding 40,000 craniums, something happens is the best I can say. That's the best I can offer. Why I think this is elegant is he's talking about mystery. That there's a component of we don't know how this is going to come out. We can't see into the future. We don't know. We're dealing with the great unknown here. And it was so fun. He used to write in shorthand soap notes, pain, you don't write pain, you write P and draw a circle around it. And write, you write an R, write a circle. He would write SH and draw a circle about it, which means something happened. Clinically, something happened. And the system was better if it accessed wisdom and intelligence. And so we're seeing this on a macro level. If the communities involved can access the best they've got to offer, something happens, and we don't know what that is. I've seen protesters and police walk arm in arm. I've seen black, brown, white, other walk arm in arm. And I saw an incredible video of Fayetteville, North Carolina Police Department. They took a knee, facing off against the protesters. They put their riot shields down and they took a knee. It was extraordinary because the protesters were protesting and then they took a knee. And you have these two lines lining up against each other, and both of them started kneeling. And then the police stood up, the protesters stood up, and one protester walked across and shook a hand of a police officer. Then another one did, and another one did. And you had this blue-black line of, ironically, it was a black line of police officers and a colorful line of protesters. And it started to mix and mingle. In the last shot, you saw the color infusing the black and this incredible mixing. And it was something happening. And it was an extraordinary process for me to watch. Marika, my wife Marika, saw a video of a police protesters and a line of white women. For some reason, I see them as moms. I don't know why. I just like moms. Linking arms between the two. And I just thought the poetry of that, something happening, was extraordinary. And I just wanted to offer this out. And here's why. For me as a young practitioner, when people started to heal, they would go into chaos, but I didn't understand it. And here's the hard part, is chaos is hard. It's unpleasant. And I'd be working with a patient on the table, and all of a sudden they would get worse. They would go into turbulence. They'd go into distress. And I thought, oh crap, I'm doing this wrong. I'm making a mistake. They're supposed to just magically get better. But the pattern has to let go. And there's a beautiful quote that I have on my door. It's a door magnet by Leonard Cohen. There's Leonard Cohen. And the quote reads, "There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in." And it's addressing this pattern, this way of healing, that it has to crack apart so that the light has a chance of getting in if we choose light over dark, if we choose health over dysfunction. And that can infuse the situation. So I was so distressed as a young healer when I would think I was doing my job well, and suddenly the client on the table gets worse. And they go into distress and anxiety, and some of them started crying, and as huge pain. And I thought, oh my God, I'm making it worse, which is what you're not supposed to do. And I took it to my elders, and they helped me, partly using Roland Becker's modeling, Dr. Becker's modeling, to understand that this is a component. Chaos is a component of healing. It's an absolutely necessary component of healing. It's not the enemy. It can go very badly and it can go very well. It depends on the light that comes in. And so this was a really beautiful way to orient to the turbulence of race relations and protest movements and Black Lives Matter and all of the swirling that's happening in our culture right now. And this helped me see and understand it in a different light. And so I wanted to share it with you in the hopes that it would help you. Moving forward, I have a daily commitment to offer my very best to the chaos in whatever way that feels appropriate for me in the day. But I make a commitment to choose and to see my reactivity, see my trauma, see my woundedness, and not offer that. But to look for and seek the very best, the best I have today, whatever that means, and offer that to my culture and my community. I hope that this helped you see yourself differently and perhaps see your culture and your community through a different lens, in a different way. That was my intention. And I bless all of us for being willing to really work and really look at this time. This is Doug Jones. Thanks for listening.